This is the countdown to arrival. The Mercury Oracle arrives in 13 days. So, to celebrate, I'm making something new and doing readings every single day until the arrival and beyond. As many of you know, to ensure that I delivered something that is absolutely quality, I had to produce these 2 times, which doubled the cost of production. That's something that I was happy to do. I knew it was going to be an extremely long road. It feels extremely long, but in reality, it put about an extra year onto the production time. So if you find the following readings resonate with you, please consider leaving a tip or donation. I'm going to be raising money over the course of the next 13 days to offset the cost that it took and ensure that we can get these to you as quickly as possible without any more delays. That being said, let's jump into it. Also, today is Mabon. The day and the night are equal length at this point in time. Mabon is a beautiful time. It is the autumn equinox. It is one of the 8 wheels of the year. So with that in mind, the eclipse season is a crazy time sometimes. The last few years were especially crazy. This particular eclipse season and the last eclipse that we had, which was the Pisces eclipse, had to do with removing illusions, seeing something clearly, and it also had a lot to do with reevaluating our relationships and our relationship with relationships. So let's jump into it. This is a pick a card about what the equinox will bring through eclipse season. All right. Okay, we have 3 piles today. We've got the spend time alone in pile number 1. We've got the observe the observer pile in pile number 2, and then we've got pile number 3, which is our titular character, Mercury. So I'll give you a moment to choose, and then we'll get into it. I'll put the timestamps down below as well. Okay, so I'm going to give these a shuffle, and we'll get going on pile number 1. So for those of you that chose pile number 1, we've got spend time alone in the middle. I've already pulled some cards and made a little bit of a spread with them. What I'm seeing almost immediately for those of you who chose this particular card is that through spending time alone, you're going to gain quite a lot. The thing and the theme of spending time alone is generally introspection, as well as regaining a sense of self and a sense of solitude, a sense of life with yourself. So over here, almost immediately, we see a card of going inward and recognizing who we are. Both of these cards are about looking at oneself. Now, this card is a relational card. It can be with others or it can be with ourselves. In particular, when I see go through the mirror, I typically think that it is seeing ourselves through our relations, but because of this placement here, it's about simply looking at ourselves, going inward. Our outer world is a reflection of our inner world, and they are not necessarily separate. They're manifestations of one another. And so spending time alone is going to amplify this scenario and probably calm any sort of chaos that's going on within you, because this is chaos coming to order, if you see that. And that's kind of the purpose of meditation, right? So if you are spending time alone, it's very advised that you take time to observe your inner world, to look at yourself through time and space, right? When we have more time and space, we have more of an ability to think clearly. If there's noise around us all of the time, if we are constantly filling our life with doing, with working, with being out and about, then it tends to accumulate. It's almost like cleaning house, right? And then also underneath we have Neptune, right? Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. As you know, we just went through Pisces eclipse, which is said to be one that lifts illusions, right? So you've got that in a very interesting position right under you, because it also rules water. We all know that Neptune is the ruler of the seas, and in our emotions and our unconscious world, it's represented by this deep water. This person is going through this deep water for a reason. They're transversing through the unknown to go spend time alone. And so you have to be grounded in your reality to see things clearly, because Neptune can bring a lot of illusions. But if we're also at the same time grounded in our dreams, and we can achieve them, but we have to, again, spend time alone to do that, to see that. Now, this is about, more than anything, going to new places within ourselves. Typically, when we see these cards, it has to do with looking out into the world from a place of newness. This person traveled all the way to the edge of the world to look out, right? That's the edge of the world. And so that's typically a very uncomfortable journey that brings growth, right? I often think of working out, working our muscles, lifting something heavy. It's never that fun. It can make us feel good, and it makes us strong through tearing down those muscles. You are able to gain new muscles. So I see this as I see so much like clarity coming out of spending time alone. And sometimes it can be clarifying. Neptune can be clarifying our dreams, but it can also, again, bring those illusions. So it feels more like we're breaking illusions about ourselves. So one of the beautiful things that I see in this reading is the sun here, and then this other almost sun pattern, but it represents the body. It says connecting to your body. So this whole reading is almost about coming back to yourself, into your embodiment, away from the mind, clearing illusions in the mind, clearing perceptions in the mind. It's looking at oneself clearly. Now, this is above the Harmonize with Patterns card and the Moving Forward card, right? Getting moving, moving something forward with free energy. Harmonizing with a pattern means utilizing the free energy around you. Maybe that there's you've got a lot of stored up energy, and maybe it's the season. I've noticed that a lot of people have been more energized this season and are doing more after a long period of halting. And so I think when I see harmonizing with patterns, I also think of sleep, like day and night. It's about getting good rest. Even though the go position is there, it feels like harmonizing with those patterns. Again, this popped up as I was saying earlier. It's about getting rid of those illusions, right? Dispelling anything that is illusory within our field, within our mind, within our self-perception. And sometimes those illusions have to do with how we perceive ourselves. In particular, it looks like it has to do with your own luck and abundance. I think what needs to happen here is look around you and see what you do have an abundance of. If you have an abundance of anything, you can kind of grow that past what it is and let it carry over into the rest of your life, you know. And that's about thinking how, what is abundance? How am I presenting myself in the world abundantly? What is actually coming in? I often think of this story of this farmer who was a political dissident and stuck on his land, right? He couldn't leave the land or the government would basically end his life. And so he said, I have 6 children. What do I have an abundance of? And he said, it rains twice a year, but it's enough rain for the whole year to grow stuff. And so what he did was he dug a big old hole and he started storing the water, and he started doing that all around his land. And very, very soon he had an entire food forest. So it's about looking at what we have as opposed to not focusing on what we don't have, especially because the sun is shining on you right now. This is a good time to come back into your embodiment. Now, I see this here, that there's been a lot of signs and signals that you need to spend time alone, right? Repetition, it's an intuitive hit. People have been telling you this. The universe has been telling you this. It's time to spend time alone, and we need to do so expediently. This is about not waiting. This is about taking the opportunity, right? It's about moving forward toward that, because there is a whole new version of you that is waiting to be birthed. This card is a very much like a Scorpio card or a Phoenix card. It's about letting parts and notions of yourself, any old stories, go, so that you can become a better version of yourself, or the version of yourself that you were meant to be. So over here we have the Rise Above It card, which means any situation that is holding you down or you feel is something that is holding you back, it's actually not carrying that much weight. Sometimes our mind can place more weight on the situation than there actually is. These situations, whatever they are happening for you to test you. And your way forward is to just go forward. You know, whenever we have a situation that is difficult, it's not that we need to avoid that, it's that we need to figure that out. And for you, it's about getting organized in your life, getting organized in your emotions, getting organized in the things that we love, right? Getting organized around the things that we love. The key to Venus is not just romantic love, it is how we love in the world, how we love on the day-to-day, the car we drive. I always bring up the car we drive because I think that's like a really good example. Certain people drive certain things because it represents their Venus. It has to do with how we decorate. It has to do with how we give and receive. So I feel like this is an opportunity for you to reevaluate yourself and realize the amount of abundance coming into this. Break those illusions that you have about yourself. And let's just ask, actually, what illusions are we breaking here? Oh, very important. The illusion may be that you do not have choice, but you do have a choice. It's a whole new day. It's interesting. We've got the sun here, we've got the sun here, we've got the sun here. A lot of sunshine in this. So the illusion that we're breaking is that we don't have a choice, because we do have a choice. You can either wait or you can go inward and look at that bigger picture. And the key to this card is, even though we're going outward, we are that universe. That's what the spread is based off of, right? So I see a lot of really wonderful stuff for you in spending time alone. Now, this doesn't mean you have to live like an ascetic. It doesn't mean that you have to disappear completely. It doesn't mean that you have to cut off all communication. It just means taking intentional time to be with yourself, to learn to love yourself again, to learn to be in the world independently. It's about breaking any sort of codependence, right? And we've got this earth here again, grounding ourselves. I'm just going to read the Find Earth card really quick. I'm getting an intuition that I should be reading it. There's an English proverb that goes, waste not, want not. To find earth is to become grounded in patience, thoughtfulness, and stability. It draws in all things to work in a deep-rooted harmony. It houses water, and together they nourish life. She is fertile, nurturing, and strong. One of the best ways to find a strong sense of reality is to find the earth element. When we are living out our earthiness, we find that just as in our gardens, physical abundance comes in the form of prosperity, fertility, stability, orderliness, groundedness, sustenance, nourishment. Okay, and one of the metaphors for this is, in fact, harmony and groundedness, right? Stability, happiness, practicality, steadfastness. So, I think you have a lot of wonderful stuff here, a lot of beautiful treasures that are going to come about from spending time alone, especially if you feel a little too inundated with company and social situations and things like that. And this can be a practice that happens every single day. Because we've got these meditative cards here as well, I think it's important that we take the time to, it's ultimately, all of this is ultimately a meditation. And so I'm going to pull some lucky cards for you here. What else do we want pile number one to know, these folks to know? What is the biggest message that we can give them, that we want them to know? Okay, this is a time through this action. It's going to take you into a whole new life. You see this moon here. It's going to uncover a lot of unconscious patterns, and it's going to allow you to be more in the world in a transparent way. This is about being open and transparent, and sometimes this is purely to ourselves. Yes, be yourself. So this is about uncovering. This whole reading is about uncovering and moving into a new way. But we need to gestate. We need to gestate on the daily. If you can take a trip by yourself, I think that would be really wonderful. But just find time alone every single day to do you and to come back to you. And I think that's all that I really have for you, Mr. and Mrs. Pile number one. I hope this was helpful, and if you still want to watch, we're going to do pile number two. Thank you. Welcome, pile number two. If you chose pile number two, observe the observer. I've already pulled some cards for you, and the first thing that I see and feel for you is that you've got some very heavenly cards. You've got joy in this position. You've got the eschaton, which is like a heavenly situation. Like a living in a heavenly state. You've also got Venus here. And you've also got some pretty interesting, almost contradictory feeling cards. But when I look at this, the number one thing that I feel for you is that through this meditation practice, you're going to learn quite a lot about how you love and how you share, if that makes sense. So right below you, let's get to this first because it's just so blaring. You've got the Share Joy card here, flanked by No and Go. I usually pull one card to start, but when I pulled the No card, I pulled another and it says No Go, right? So it may feel as though you have been unable to share your joy, to share with your community, because when you share your joy, it becomes infectious and Excuse me, there's a train going by. But when you're able to share your joy, it allows other people to share their joy. And for some reason, we have some sort of blockage here. And what's being told to you through this and through this meditation practice, you're going to learn that you can start sharing your joy right now, because these are both two cards about joy, and both of them have a delay. Okay, both of them have a sort of energy of waiting, but the key to this card here, this wait until light, is a new day. That sun is rising. This two people that are in love are walking towards this light. So the share joy and the know and the go, if you feel blocked in your joy, we want to remove those blocks through looking inward, through going into ourselves, and to see that the thing that is blocking our outward joy is something that's going on inwardly. Now, I want to know why our joy is blocked. Why is joy blocked here? Right? Because we feel as though we need to do something different, because we feel as though life needs to be different before we can share, right? Before we can express fully in joy. But what is being told to me more than anything is that there's just some stop energy. Now, alternatively, you may be feeling like you're having too much fun, but I don't see Saturn in this situation. Okay, you've got all of these kind of intense cards that are in a similar route, where it's saying, don't, it's almost like a stop. It's literally says stop and go. It's like stop go energy, like you want to express and then you stop, and then you want to express and then you feel as though you have to do something differently. But when we truly share joy, it means we're present and we're not inside of our heads. We are embodied. We are in our body. Okay, we are living in a way of spontaneousness, of change, of growth. Okay, there's nothing outside of you that will stop you from doing this. It is only inside of you that would stop you from doing this. And so we need to go inward to stop this energy and get out of this trap. Like, I want to just clarify, what is this trap here? Okay. Waiting for the right time. Now is the right time, because the only time is now. Now, we have the eschaton over here, which is, I always tell people that to live in heaven is to be heaven, right? To be a heavenly state. I always tell people as well that we carry a bubble around us, our aura. And if you're interested in auras, I highly recommend looking into your human design and your aura type. But your bubble, your aura bubble, the energy that you put out is very much affected and affects the people around you, which makes me think of this card as well. There's these dotted lines that represents your aura right there. So this isn't necessarily a time to be waiting, but it is a new day. The reminder is that today is a new day, right? Today is a new day. It is not the past. It is today. It is now. And that we can be in contact with higher power. This person, there's a lot of like upward energy. Earlier I put it back, but earlier I pulled a connect to higher states card, which has a beautiful mandala pattern on the top of his head, where he is connecting with the heaven realms. To connect with the heaven realms, you have to open up your crown chakra. So when I see this and this here with all of this crown chakra stuff and this this head, this person going inward. There's a lot of different types of meditations that we can do to open that. Sometimes when some of our chakras are blocked, excuse me, it can block other chakras. But I think what would be good for you in this scenario is when you are doing this, integrating, when you are sitting and meditating, in this time of introspection, to do some sort of clarifying meditation, something that brings clarity and openness, something that is directly connected with your crown chakra. This looks like Kundalini sometimes. There's a lot of different types of yoga that will do it, but purely just meditating is a wonderful way to do it. So I also see here, dispel all illusions, which is what this first eclipse has been good for. I feel in my personal life, I've realized many important things that I hadn't seen before during this eclipse. And for you particularly, it's around your Venus. Now, if you didn't watch the first pile, I would go back and watch the first pile as well, because there's a lot of crossover. It's a different message here, but there is a lot of the same cards. And I tell people, whenever Venus pops up, we often think that this is just romantic love, but this is how we love and what we surround ourselves with. This is how, the food that we eat, the places that we go out to eat, the way we decorate, the lovers that we take, and how we love. And for you, this process of going inward is going to dispel illusions that you might have around how you love, how you're being loved, what it is that is being shown to you. Is interesting because we have Saturn and Venus, right? I myself have a Saturn transiting my natal Venus right now, and it's been surprising because I'm learning about how I love and what I love, and I'm accepting those things instead of fighting it. Sometimes the society itself has a whole structure and a whole story and a whole, how do I say it, way that it's beaten into our heads how we need to be. But for me, I've learned a lot about how I love and how it's very untraditional. My Venus is actually ruled by Mercury, and so I like to bring in situations that are varied, right? I like to try a lot of things. It birthed this whole situation that you're looking at right now. These cards are a product of that. It's like, I like a lot of moving parts. I like when things are taken apart and put back together. And I can also be very, very cerebral in love. I love people who stimulate my mind, right? And for me, it was helpful for me to go in and learn about my Venus. So if you don't know your Venus placement, I would say go check out your Venus placement and learn about that a little bit, and try to find out how that applies in your astrology and in your life, because this whole process is going to help you into acceptance about your Venus. Saturn is interesting energy because it can be it wants you to do the work, to be genuine and to be yourself in the most authentic way possible. So to do that, to say your Venus is in Sagittarius and you've been fighting the fact that you want your partners to be and bring new experiences, adventures. Venus in Sagittarius loves to go on adventures. If your Venus is in Leo, love to get gifts and things like that. Check your Venus and help yourself come to terms with it, because There is something very strong going on and can be difficult energy, honestly. Saturn kind of opposes Venus in a way. Saturn likes Venus a lot. Saturn loves Venus, but Venus has a hard time with Saturn. We've all had a friend that just absolutely is all for us, but is kind of hard on our energy. It's kind of like that with Venus, where Saturn is more about work. Venus can be more about play and leisure. Now, Saturn can be about play. Play is almost the reward. It's about timing, where Venus wants to kind of play all of the time. So you might check your transits as well. You might have some sort of Saturn-Venus transit going on right now. But I like this for you because it's, I think about Venus and I think about fun and I think about Saturn, and it looks a lot like this scenario here, where there's these opposing things, where it's like stop and go energy. It's feeling like we can't share the joy, right? And it feels like a lot of this may be illusory, a story that we're telling for this situation. And that brings me to the next card. This is weaving a story. This is telling a riddle. This is singing. This is bringing things into existence, specifically our current reality. Now, the more beautifully we can speak about our reality, the more beautifully we can live in that reality, because we can see things in a more luscious lens, a more vibrant lens. And that's what this is about, going and practicing and taking time alone to speak our dreams into existence, instead of maybe we've been telling ourselves a story for a long time that we don't deserve a certain type of love, that we don't deserve joy, that we can't have that right now, that it all has to be work, or it all has to be a certain way, or that your dreams will never come true, or perhaps you haven't even taken time to do this recently. This is a good call, and I'm giving you permission to take time to, I like, this card can also be about writing, but our words are powerful because it makes things immediately manifest. Our thoughts manifest into the world. It radiates out. It is to cast a spell, to spell it out, right? And we're going to do this in a scenario where we're spending time alone every day. So going inward is going to give you a lot of clarity, is the clarity and removal of blocks around our joy. If we feel, especially if we feel like we can't feel joy, it's so hard to be ourselves and feel like life is beautiful if our joy is blocked. So I'm going to pull a couple lucky cards. What else do we want pile number 2 folks to know? Okay, we have a scenario here around getting our energies together. If our energies are scattered and we don't have focus, this can be a block of our crown chakra or our third eye. This guy's third eye is glowing there. But this is scattered energies. This is about getting our energy together through this process to move forward and to communicate, even if it is to the world, how we want and what we want to have in the world, specifically around our joy and our Venus, right? Specifically around love in whatever form that may take. Now, to do this, take time in silence, alone, in space, in the void. This is a powerful card. And it's, I think this card often bothers people because they think that it means you're going to be in like solitary confinement or something. But this is where all creation comes from. This is where all creative acts come from. This is where we can hear our own heart and our own desire and our dreams in a place of silence. So again, if I'd like to suggest that if you did not watch pile number 1, go back and watch pile number 1 as well and see if you pick up anything from that. But these are my messages for you today. Spend time every single day observing your inner world and your outer world. And thank you for joining me today. Okay, hello, pile number 3. If you chose pile number 3, you pulled our titular character today, Mercury. Now, Mercury, I'm going to start just by reading Mercury out of the book. I think that it's kind of a fun exercise to do sometimes. So, the quote is, Atlas's grandson obeys his sire's word and hastily thereupon binds the winged sandals on to his ankles, and with his wide hat covers his locks and tempers the stars. And that's Statius. How are you being understood in your personal and business relations? Are you communicating clearly? When we are mutable, curious, inquisitive, and communicative, we are acting out our Mercury. In interpersonal situations, Mercury assists us in helping others understand, so we tend to meet people's Mercuries first. Mercury also represents coordination and pattern creation. Our thoughts, ideas, and sensory information from all levels of consciousness need to be arranged to be understood. But remember, Mercury is also a trickster god and acts to remind us when we grow too complacent in our understanding. One of his greatest talents is taking things apart and putting them back together. So, first thing that I see upon reading that is that we've got the organize up here, which is about getting our components apart and then back together. I also see a lot of movement. Mercury represents movement, as well as getting ourselves into a position of good communication. And in particular, what I see is this card here, kindness. Now, kindness is the most, I think, powerful type of communication that we can have, the most powerful style. Empathy, compassion, whether that be for ourselves or for others. But let's really just get into this. Right below you, and everyone has gotten this so far, is the spending time alone card. I think that this eclipse season is going to be really important that we spend time alone for our own spiritual growth. And for you in particular, it's to get your intuition back online. Now, I'm not surprised by that because you've got the Move Your Body card. Our intuition lives in our body. Oftentimes we think it's purely up here in our third eye, but it's actually a whole bodily feeling. When I teach psychometry and things like that, I always tell people to lead with their body, don't lead with your mind, you know. But this is the act of seeing as well, seeing things clearly. And we've got a big old pair of eyeballs up top on the Do Not Sleep card. This is asking you to spend time alone. Perhaps you've been spending too much time with friends, or you haven't been able to get away from work enough, and it's kind of clouding your intuition. So spending time alone is not something that you have to go off into the edge of the world to do, but it is an embodied practice that can happen throughout your day, once a day, twice a day, for a week, if you have the resources to do so, to take a vacation alone. But it's really about coming back to ourselves as an act of love and compassion to ourselves. Now, we've also got this situation that I thought was interesting. The first card that I pulled was No, and then the Tunnel, and then we've got the Heaven card. So when I see this tunnel, it's like an impasse, but it's also like if you think about going into a tunnel, it's about going into a dark place. We don't necessarily have to go into a dark place, right? We can exist in the light. This is light. This is good vibrations. This is living in a way that is in accordance to our highest self, our greatest joy. And have you ever been in the presence of someone and just their mere presence, you can feel the energy and it's uplifting? That is about embodying that kind of energy. We don't necessarily have to go deeply, deep down into this tunnel, and through an act of that passionate fire, we can just ignite the fires within us, and say, no, the scenario of darkness is not for me. Perhaps someone else is trying to drag you into the darkness, into their own tunnel. But through saying no to a situation that feels like a dark situation, and doing so with a gentle shift of our energy towards the good and the true, and through a brave action, we can avoid this scenario altogether. So if you've been entertaining getting sucked into some baloney, sucked into a situation that is not going to serve the version of you that is happy and light, then avoid, do what we can to avoid that dark place. And that is a type of communication. That is our Mercury. We need to communicate those things. So over here we've got compassion, we've got the Be Kind card, and then we've got the Crossroads card. I have a feeling that these two scenarios, actually all three of these scenarios, are very, very interlinked, because we've got two people here, and then we've got the Spend Time Alone card, right? Maybe this person is trying to drag you into something, but this kindness card kind of goes along with the Eschaton card. It is about acting with compassion. It is about acting with softness. I'm going to read you that one actually as well, because I just really love what I wrote in here. No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. And that was Aesop. Kindness is often approached simply as feeling benevolent affection, but is more accurately defined as a mental state and attitude that is created through practice. Being kind is an act of total nonviolence that comes from a genuine wish for the happiness and well-being of others. True kindness is devoid of self-interest. It brings a warm-hearted feeling of fellowship, sympathy, and love, which grows with practice. Kindness is the antidote to selfishness, anger, and fear. It never fails to shine light and warmth on a conflict. Now, I was talking about having a choice to go into a scenario down this tunnel, right? Now you've got the Crossroads card, so kindness is leading you to that. Let's see what this is about. See this sun rising over here? This is the actual sunrise. So a new day, a new way of being. Perhaps this is with a loved one. And our options through acting kind here, our options are to start anew in a different way and become clear our mind, right? Meditate through it, or go through some sort of struggle with someone or something, a struggle in our emotional world, right? So this is it feels very cut and dry. As a meditative practice, is doing something differently, and meditating, we will become embodied, as well as through a struggle. These are both water cards, right? This is the unconscious mind. This is our emotions and our feelings. You will have some sort of situation with a number of people. Maybe there's a situation where there is an entire community involved, but it will bring about. It feels a little uncomfortable going this way. It will bring about a scenario, a fated scenario with a number of people. Now, this one ends in Jupiter, which is luck and abundance, right? So if we take the time to rethink about this major decision that we have, particularly, it feels like a love scenario because we've got all of these other. Maybe you have a partner that wants us to open the relationship or something like that, or maybe there's someone trying to bring you into a group of people who do not resonate with you, who don't vibe with you, right? And then over here, you've got, it's kind of solitary. This same man, this red guy, is deciding, wait, I need to do things differently. They sit and they become clear about what they want by connecting to their body, because meditating, yoga is just connecting to our body and being able to meditate longer, right? The practice of yoga is a practice of embodiment, and through that, you're going to unlock all of this luck and abundance. So if I were you, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but this looks a lot more beautiful. It looks like a lot more fun. It looks like a lot more clarity. So I'm going to pull these aside, shuffle these back in. And then, like I said in this one, and earlier on with the move your body, Mercury can be this sort of movement, this quick movement, but this was about embodiment. So this eclipse season is going to bring about more of that. This is a card of exercise. Sometimes it's a card of physically moving locations, moving house, that kind of thing. You've got the earth there. So I wonder if this is just a new beginning in a new home or a new place. Let's see. Let's ask what this is about a little bit more. So what are we talking about here? Yeah, it feels like going somewhere new. This person is traversing a bridge into a new shore. So it feels like this whole situation, this person is traveling as well. So it feels like you may have a move on the horizon, maybe moving a new job, maybe moving homes, maybe just going somewhere new. And I really like that. I really like that for you. I don't feel like I need to unpack that one as much. And then over here, we're being asked to stop avoiding organizing and get on it right now. I like to always start with writing, organizing my space and my outer space. If our outer space is crazy and cluttered, it means our inner space is cluttered. And so I'll go through my studio and my bedroom and my workspace and everything, my bathroom. I'll organize everything so I don't have to search for whatever it is I'm looking for. So everything I need is on the ready. Organizing is about putting things in order, typically outwardly with this particular card, and that will work to organize your inner world as well. So this is a call to go through your stuff, organize it, organize that bookshelf, organize your schedule, organize your meetings, organize your whole life, wherever it needs organized, because it will make your life so much easier. Now, we've also got this card of going inward. This eclipse season for you is going to bring about a time of healing. Now, healing our past means healing our present. When we heal our past, we change our present, right? What does it mean to heal our past? Well, let's read about that too, actually. I've been meaning to read this one for myself anyways, so let's read it out loud. Oh, you know what? This is an earlier version of the book, so it's not in there. So, let me pull this up real quick. But I'll tell you what I know. We can go outward and we can go inward, and this is about looking at all of the details inwardly. Zooming in is about looking at all of the minutiae. It's very similar to this organized card. When we're looking at how something works within ourselves, we're being very detailed oriented. So for me, again, this feels more like When I see this combination, it feels like reframing, the practice of reframing. So sometimes when we have a story about something, it can cause a lot of issues here and now. But if we reframe what it is that is holding us back from our past as something that has got us to where we are now, then we can let it go, because all of the things that happen to us in our life, however difficult, however strange, however whatever, they're there to teach, and to teach us something and to bring us where we are now. But we can release those things with love and appreciation if we are to see that they had their value. They brought us to where we are now, but the past is not the present. Now, the past can look like pain in our body, which is typically what a lot of our pain is, in our lower back specifically, which is like the top of your glutes, things like that. If you're having a lot of back pain, that's usually the past carrying over to shoulder pain. You know, when we have the weight of the world on our shoulders, we start to feel it. So go in and take some conscious time to look at the details of what is going on in your inner world, specifically around these Neptunian energies, which rules Pisces. Everybody has gotten some sort of Piscean card during these readings. Go in and look at where our dreams may have felt. How do I say this? Where we may be holding on to stories that are illusions about our past, as well as where our dreams lie now, right? Where do we find ourselves in this moment? And be patient with the whole process. Healing in the past is an interesting journey, because to heal our past, we need to look at it here in the present. Now, I want to read Neptune for you, because this is a Pisces eclipse and Neptune rules Pisces. Here we are. Neptune. A dreamer is one who can only find his way by moonlight, and his punishment is that he sees the dawn before the rest of the world. That's Oscar Wilde. Characterized by dreams, psychic receptivity, illusion, and sometimes confusion, Neptune rules spirituality and all things subtle. It is the planet of inspiration, fantasy, and dreaminess. Since Neptune is the god planet of altered realities, it shows us how to escape the mundane and exceed our limitations. However, wearing the rose-tinted glasses of Neptune can make us susceptible to illusions that lead to self-deceit. When Neptune appears in a reading, he is asking us to look at our divine potential. At his best, he shows us what is possible when we dissolve boundaries and seek the source. At its worst, it leads us to lies, deception, and disillusionment. So I would look at how that energy plays in to your past and to your personal healing. It feels as though maybe we are wearing rose-tinted glasses and telling ourselves some sort of story around a situation in our past, and it is making it so it's difficult to see that this is not necessarily the truth regarding the details of a situation that we're holding on to right now. So I like that this is where we're going. You know, make sure that you protect your energy and make sure that you come back to your body. You know, sometimes Neptune can be very, like Piscean energy can be very much disembodied sometimes, because it is fantasy. It's like fantasy land sometimes. And we want to come back to our body, get organized, and have those new beginnings through compassion and through love, and avoid scenarios that are not our own. I'm going to pull a couple more cards for you as some parting wisdom, and I really appreciate you today tuning in. This is the Mercury Oracle, and you are wonderful people. So, this is interesting. That's in the same position as one of the previous readings. So, what we're being reminded is that with every day and with all of our intentional embodiment and action is that we're moving into a new reality. Now, this can also be shifting our perceptions, but for me, it feels like doing this work and existing in this work of spending time alone, becoming embodied, is bringing up a lot of the unconscious world, a lot of the unknown. You know, sometimes people fear this moon card, which is the unknown. Sometimes people fear the unknown, but the unknown is there to remind us of what is in our potential and is in our depth. It reminds us how deep we can be and how much is actually going on. I want to say behind the scenes. And it's also a reminder to listen to your heart. Your heart knows best. Your heart always knows best. So if you are trying to think about a scenario and figure out what is best to do, to do for yourself or for a situation, listen to what your heart has to say, and it will take you to a place that is more beautiful than you can imagine. So this is what I have for you, pile number 3. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Thank you.